What's going on, people? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, and we're here for episode number 71, of the Boxing Lowdown podcast. I'm delighted to be joined, as always, by my partner in crime, the main man, my father in the building, Mr. Laurie from AFTV, there in the AFTV studios. We got a big game today, man.
Yeah, man, massive game today. The game against Wolves. It's a bit of a grudge match. It's a bit like Kelbrook and Amir Khan, this one, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Needle going on. Wolves don't like the way we celebrated the last time we beat them. And I'm sure they'll be looking to try and get one over on us. But can they? I personally don't think so. But hey, it's football, man. You seen last night with Tottenham. You saw how that turned out for them. So you can't afford to take anything lightly, man. Not in this game. So yeah, but a nice weekend of boxing as well to look forward to. So it's all good.
Just thinking about what you just said there, can't afford to take him lightly. That just it just nicely segues into the first fight we're going to talk about today. Shout out to Michael Maxwell in the building, man. Big up yourself. He's put, "What's up, guys? Good to see you here." Don't forget, man, anybody of you guys that joined in the chat, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. We're, I was talking about hitting 1,000 subs. We're nearly at 1,100 now. We're nearly there. Wow. So listen, it's going up every week. The numbers, the views, the interactions. I'm loving it. So it's great to see, man. Big up Harvey in the chat here as well. He's put, "What's up, guys? Hope you're both well." Let's get straight into it, man. Let's segue into the first topic of today, and that is Josh Taylor against Jack Catterl. Now, just take note of what you just said there, Laurie, and big up Francisco in the building as well. Just take note of what you just said there. Can't afford to take it lightly. I watched the gloves are off between Taylor and Catterl today, actually, on my lunch break at work. And I'm not saying Josh Taylor is taking Jack Catterl lightly, but the way, the disdain that he's got, or the disdain that he showed him, the little regard that he showed Jack Catterl was just like, yeah, I've been in with much better guys than you. If I show up on my game, then I've got nothing to worry about. That is literally the impression I've got. I'm not accusing Josh Taylor of being unprofessional. I think he's anything but you can just tell, man. I've seen him in other gloves are off, like against Regis Prograis. I've seen him talk about fighters like Terence Crawford and, some of his other opponents. And I just get the feeling with Jack Catterl, he's not viewing him like that. Do you know what I mean? There's levels to this. And Jack Catterl, unfortunately for him, he's just not on Taylor's level. And he's got it all to prove on Saturday night, though. I mean, he's got a lot to prove, Jack Catterl.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, Josh Taylor is Josh Taylor. That's, he's a very highly strung guy, as you can see. He's got a lot of energy to him. And
shit fight, says Shane Willoughby, man. Shane Willoughby in the house. He says it's a shit fight. He's not having it.
Listen, man, you can't begrudge Josh Taylor a homecoming fight like this. You know what I mean? In many ways, it's a bit of a shame that he's the week after the Amir Khan Kelbrook fight, isn't it? Because I still feel a lot of the attention, even though it's a week old now, is still very much on that. And they've kind of missed out on a little bit of lead up, haven't they? So they've only had really a week to really get to grips with this, with the promotion for this fight. So I feel a little bit sorry for Josh Taylor, man, because I would say pound for pound, he's best boxer in Britain right now, would you say?
Yep.
So you can understand why he's a little dismissive of Jack Catterl, to be honest. Obviously, he can't afford to take that too far.
Have you seen the press conference and the gloves? Have you seen?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I was very entertained by it. I mean, there was a part in it that really made me laugh when Jack Catterl was questioning the injury. And Josh Taylor looks across and he goes, "Yo, I was injured, you clown."
Yeah, I saw that bit. Yeah.
And when I saw that, man, I was just laughing because you quite accurately described it. The look of disdain that he had on his face for Jack Catterl. But I'm not. Listen, man. I'm trying not to disrespect Jack Catterl, but if you look at the two fighters' records, you could see that quite clearly there's a big disparity, man, in talent and achievement between the two fighters. And like you said, there is some disdain there. But then, like I said, he can't afford to take that too far. He's got to be professional. And I would say that the fact that the fight is in Scotland is very much a homecoming fight for him. He hasn't fought in Scotland for many years. It's a showcase fight for him. All his family, friends, and everybody else are going to be there. And obviously, he knows that the world is watching knowing Josh Taylor as I do, he's going to want to put on an A+ performance. And I think he's going to shine in this fight, man. I really do. I think in many ways, Jack Catterall, apart from the fact that he's southpaw, is almost the perfect opponent, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
Jack Catterall is, let's face it, he's quite slow and ponderous, although he is tough and he does have skills. But he's not the most dynamic. He's not the quickest. And I just think that Josh Taylor, man, will lay the smackdown on him, man, if I'm being honest. I can't see it going any other way than a convincing Josh Taylor win. I think that a combination of Jack Catterall's conditioning and his toughness and his resoluteness might see him into the late rounds, might. But this will be one of the shocks of the decade if he can beat Josh Taylor. Any way I look at it, I just can't see it.
Harvey's saying here, you could see that Josh Taylor was really oozing of confidence in the gloves are off. Shane Willoughby says here, Taylor is a great fighter, but let's keep it real. Catterall, or however you spell the guy's name, isn't a top 10 fighter at that weight. And he said he's more interested in the Russell versus Postal fight, which is that weekend. So listen, man.
Yeah, that is a big fight as well, yeah.
Michael Maxwell says here, mandatory defense, but apart from the Prograis rematch, all fights for Taylor are dependent on others coming up from 135 or Taylor going up to 147. I just think that I don't want to be disrespectful to Jack Catterall, man, but it's just there's just levels in this game, isn't it? And if, like you said, if he was to win this, it would be a massive shock for me. Even though he's
a monumental upset. Monumental.
Yeah. He's undefeated, you know what I mean? But it's just there's levels, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of Jack Catterall's fights. They do have one common opponent, actually, O'Hara Davis. And if you remember when O'Hara Davis fought Josh Taylor, he was completely dominated. And let's face it, Josh Taylor made him quit, didn't he?
Yeah.
O'Hara Davis had quit after 7 rounds. Whereas when O'Hara Davis fought Jack Catterall, that was a bit of a snooze fest fight.
Yeah.
And Jack Catterall won on points, mainly because O'Hara Davis didn't do anything. I mean, but it was a complete opposite when he fought Josh Taylor. He got absolutely battered in that fight. And if you remember, going into that fight, there was a lot of people. I remember Darren Barker and 1 or 2 other people actually picking O'Hara Davis to win on account of his power. And he did land a couple of shots on Josh Taylor. I think Josh Taylor did say that O'Hara Davis had hit him harder than anybody else. So that was interesting. But aside from that, man, he walked through him, didn't he? I remember that, man. He walked through him. And I'm expecting him to do the same to Jack Catterall, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And from that fight, Josh Taylor, he's just moved up the levels. His record is so impressive, man. It is so impressive considering after that fight, he's literally stepped up in world class, won the World Boxing Super Series, become undisputed champion. This guy, in my opinion, man, for whatever reason, he doesn't get the sort of flowers that he should be getting as an undisputed champion. Maybe that could be down to him in some ways. Do you know what I mean? He's not an angel outside of the ring for sure. But, you know, in the ring, he's won. Like, it's impossible not to respect him and respect what he's done, man. He's a quality fighter. Pound for pound level fighter.
What to say, man? He's a nasty bastard, mate. I tell you that. He's very spiteful. I think there's a few fighters that come to mind as being spiteful. You know, those fighters that almost seem to enjoy inflicting punishment and pain on people. And 2 fighters spring to mind, actually. Him and Terence Crawford are just 2 people I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's some more. But those 2 guys, man, spring to mind as guys who seem to love inflicting pain. And if you hit them and hurt them, it's almost like they come at you harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that Jack Catterall's been quite clever, hasn't he? Because he's kept a stoic face. He's tried to remain confident. But if you notice, he deliberately not tried to get underneath Josh Taylor's skin too much. He's sort of gone to that level and then he's reined it back in. I'm wondering if he's doing that to try and slip under the radar a bit and maybe not hype Josh Taylor up too much because he's worried that, you know what I mean, it might get him to take him even more seriously. But yeah, man, it's going to be a very interesting fight because obviously, you know, Josh Taylor's at home. It's a homecoming fight, like we said, and he's going to want to put on a good show. But if Jack Catterall can stick around and cause some problems, it'll be interesting to see. Will Josh Taylor's mindset change? Will he be too anxious to try and get Jack Catterall out there to impress the crowd? and thereby make mistakes, maybe run into a few shots that he shouldn't do. Jack Catterall does have a decent power. No, I wouldn't say it's one punch power or anything like that, but you know, he has hurt quite a few of his opponents. I think he's got like 13 KOs out of the 26 fights he's had. So you know, he'll present a few problems, I'm sure, but I'm expecting Josh Taylor to be an overwhelming winner by the time that fight ends. I can't see it going the distance. What about you?
No, I just think that Josh Taylor's too good. And I just think, I think that the crowd in this sense will be even better for Josh Taylor, man. You can see he's really buzzing. You can see he can't wait to fight in front of the crowd. So that's not going to be a distraction for him. And I just think that he will at some point get to Jack Catterall in there. Let's go through some comments quickly. Shane Willoughby says here, I was told that Sky are putting some big money up for Crawford versus Taylor in the UK. We heard Terence Crawford this week praise the UK fans, man, literally saying that we're the best fans in the world. So he says. Stefan has said here, I don't understand the issue with Taylor. This is mandatory, and the only reason we got Taylor Ramirez was because he stepped aside. That's very true.
Yeah, but I mean, none of us are questioning that fight. I've said it's a good fight for Josh Taylor because let's face it, Jack Catterall's unbeaten. He deserves his shot. He was in line. He stepped aside so Taylor could unify the belts with Ramirez. That's what's happened, and he was promised the next shot, which he's got. I've got no problem with that fight at all. But like I said, it's about levels. And it's interesting because you mentioned Shane there talking about he was looking forward to the fight with Victor Postol and Gary Antoine Russell, who's, of course, Gary Russell Jr.'s brother, who's unbeaten doing big guns. But if you remember, Josh Taylor actually fought and beat Victor Postol a few years back.
Yeah.
Did a good job on him as well. You know what I mean? So that shows you the level of Josh Taylor, man.
Yeah. Stefan saying here, Taylor should be too good for him. Catterall is a solid boxer, good fundamentals, but he doesn't really excel in any area. Harvey saying here, Taylor stops him in 8. Big Lou, my brother, he's put here, I rate Taylor highly, but I still think he would need to fight a legit 147-pound fighter before he takes on Bud. Michael Maxwell, world-class fighting at home against a domestic level opponent. And Stefan said he was referring to some of the comments. So, yeah, that's probably elsewhere, not you, Laurie. And Michael Maxwell said here, Taylor has earned, if anybody has earned a slightly easier an opponent, then you can say it is Josh Taylor, man. I'm not mad at this at all, really. Jack Catterall did step aside. Do you know what I mean? So it is the noble thing to give him his shot. How long will Taylor hold on to these belts? That's the question. You never hold on to them undisputed titles for too long. He's already flirted with the possibility of moving up to 147. Should Taylor win as expected, what do you think he should do next? I mean, Big Lou is saying here, maybe could he go straight into a Bud fight? Is he ready? Or do you think he needs to warm up at 147? Or maybe he waits for Teofimo Lopez to come up and fight him? Do you know what I mean? What does he do next if he does win against Jack Catterall this weekend, Taylor? He's got a lot of options.
I think that would be folly to go straight into a fight with Bud. And plus, I don't think that fight will happen because from what I understand, and we've got good reason to believe, Errol Spence has said that should he get past the Ugas fight.
No, really?
Yeah, well, that's what he said. And also, Ugas has said that he'd like to unify the belts too. So I think that Terence Crawford's looking at the winner of those two and a possible unification late 2022. The only problem with that is that obviously Bud will want another fight in between that, won't he? He ain't going to want to be inactive for that long. But I can't imagine Josh Taylor, if he wins this fight as expected, that he's just going to relinquish the belts and then just go straight in against a quality fighter like Terence Crawford. I'm sure he'll want to test the waters at welterweight because, you know, it's not easy moving up 7 pounds and taking on solid guys at the weight above. It doesn't matter how good you are. You know what I mean? There are weight classes for a reason. So he want to test. I know what Josh Taylor's mindset is, even though he does back himself, but I'm sure he'll want to do things the right way. So maybe another defense. Maybe he might go up to welterweight, but fight a kind of lower level guy before taking on the likes of a Crawford or one of the top echelon welterweights. That's certainly what I would advise anyway.
Yeah, why don't you fight Conor Benn? How about that? You like Conor Benn so much. Well, what about Taylor and going up and fighting someone like Conor Benn?
It's possible, I suppose, but no, I don't even think
that would never happen.
I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll look for a suitable opponent to test the waters.
I'm only joking anyway. I know that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Plus, I don't think Conor Benn would really want to take that fight, would he?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
He ain't going to want that. Michael Maxwell says here, Taylor should stay at 140. There's lots of decent fighters, 135, that would be tempted at an undisputed title at 140. We already know Teofimo Lopez is looking to move up. Devin Haney has flirted with the possibility of moving up. You still got Regis Prograis there. You've got some good fighters at 140, to be fair. But yeah, how long will he be able to keep those belts for? It's hard to keep them all at once. And yeah, it'll be difficult, to be fair. But I mean,
you have to remember
we're talking like Josh Taylor has won already. That's the bad thing, isn't it? We're talking like he's won this fight already, man. Anyone that supports Jack Catterall will be looking at this, thinking, look how disrespectful we're being to him. But it's not with any disrespect at all, man. Hard to see past the Josh Taylor win.
Yeah, exactly. And you got, in talking about the weight thing, you got to remember as well that Josh Taylor, he's very big for the weight. He's got the frame that could easily carry welter, even light middle. You know what I mean? I think he's approaching 6 foot, which is big for a light welter. Very big. He's also 31 years old, and he's been fighting at that weight class now since he turned pro for a number of years. I mean, he was an Olympian in 2012. He turned pro shortly after that. So he's been at that weight a few years now. So I would imagine he probably finds it. He probably wouldn't say it publicly, but he probably struggles a little bit to make light welter. So I think the move to welterweight's a natural for him. It's just when he decides to do it. I reckon if he wins this fight, he would have ticked off a lot of the boxes, you know, undisputed, made a defense in his hometown, if he wins on Saturday. And as boxers do, they're ambitious, especially a guy like Josh Taylor. He'll be saying to his trainer and the people around him, you know what I mean, I want to be challenged, you know what I mean? So unless there's a big money fight to be made at 140 that's accessible, I would say that he will entertain that move up to welterweight.
Yeah.
Because there's even bigger money up there with even better opponents. So, and knowing Josh Taylor as we know him, I'm sure he'll want to back himself. I don't think he'll be frightened of doing that. And as for Teofimo, he'll walk through Teofimo. Teofimo Lopez, man. He'll absolutely. For Teofimo to take that fight, his first fight after getting schooled by Kambosos, that would be, to me, a suicide mission for him.
Harvey saying here, I saw Teofimo Lopez Sr. saying that Teo would smash Taylor at 140. Yeah, I mean, they talk a lot.
He said lots of things, isn't it? He called Canelo a bum as well. So that guy's a fool, man. You know what I mean? Straight up fool. I wouldn't listen to anything that guy says. The sooner Teofimo gets away from his dad, the better for his career. But I don't think he will do that. In fact, I'm pretty sure he said on record that he's going to remain with his dad. So that will be the detriment of his career.
Shane Willoughby says here, Conor Benn is running from all good opposition. He is like the 147-pounder Ryan Garcia. That's what Shane's saying about your boy Conor Benn, man.
Did you put him up to saying that?
No, I didn't.
You guys have got something against Conor Benn, man. He's a good young British fighter trying to make his way in the game, and you're getting people like you and Shane dissing him, man. That's not good. Get behind your fighters, man. Get behind your UK fighters.
You know what? I saw a few people message me after that show last week, and they said to me, "You know what, man? You're right. What you said about Conor Benn, you know, I was thinking the same thing." So it's not just me saying it, man. I think a few people are thinking it. Listen, I ain't got nothing against him, but I'm just saying I'm not on the hype train like a few other people are, man, for sure. I'm not on there yet.
All right, okay. Well, would you agree with me by saying that? I think, anyway, he's our most improved fighter in the UK. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think you got a good case for that. Yeah, I'd say so.
So basically, then the hype is justified to some degree. Then, and then what I would say as well, and I'll always defend him on this. You have to understand that when you're matchmaking for Conor Benn, you do have to have a certain degree of conservatism about it, because if you push him too far too soon, it's not going to end well. You have to understand that this is a young guy who started, at the bottom rung, small hall shows. The guy didn't even have an extensive amateur career. And when he started, let's be honest, man, you looked at him and you thought, you know what, his ceiling is that high. You know what I mean? He's made dramatic improvements. He's now, as I said anyway, and you agree with me, that he's probably our most improved fighter in the UK. But that doesn't mean to say you throw him in with the Lions just because he's had a couple of good wins. It's a steady building process.
That's not my issue with. That's not my issue with Conor. That's not my issue.
You can't expect him to go in with the killers just yet. He's still only 24, 25 years old.
That's not my issue. My issue is the fact that, like, I think he's being moved at a perfect pace. I think that he's being moved brilliantly. Do you know what I mean? They've done very well with him. It's
So
the
what's your
hype,
argument?
the hype that I don't like. The fact that after he knocks out Chris Algieri, somebody that's been inactive for so many years, you got Tony Bellew on there saying that only the top two guys at welterweight can beat him. He beats everybody else. Then you got even you admitted that you were wrong for this, saying that you think he'd beat Sean Porter and all of this. I'm just like,
no, I said in a year's time.
There's all this hype. There's all this hype around Ben. And I'm just saying, like, you can't have all this hype and then call out Adrian Broner, somebody that's, needs a bit of help, like, outside of the ring. And you're going to pick on Adrian Broner. You're going to pick on a 35-year-old Kell Brook. Like, come on, man. There are guys domestically that you could have fought. Do you know what I mean? You wanted to fight Josh Kelly. He lost to Avanesian. Naturally, that would be the guy you go for. You don't want no parts of him. You don't want to look at any of the other domestic guys like Congo or McKinson. Not interested in them. Then you look at the world level. We'll skip that. You don't want to fight any of the top guys there, but we're supposed to be led to believe that you'll beat Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, everyone else except them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, no, this is our problem, man, as the UK. We hype our fighters too much.
We do. However, I said, you're being a bit naughty there, Daryl, because I didn't say he should go with Sean Porter now. Anyway, that's redundant because Sean Porter's retired. I was saying a year from now, given his rate of progression. But anyway, that's redundant, as I said, because Sean Porter's retired. But yeah, listen, I get your point. The Avanesian fight, I would have loved him to have taken that. But then Virgil Ortiz, everyone's tipping him for the top. He studiously swerved Avanesian, and I don't hear nobody saying anything about that. And Virgil Ortiz is deeper in the game, way deeper in the game than Conor Benn. He's supposed to be in that next echelon of stars, him and Boots Ennis. And it was noticeable, man. He didn't want no smoke with Avanesian. He's fighting McKinson. So, you know what I mean? They all do it. No, they all do it. I understand what you're saying. I do. You do make a good point. I mean, why not have the fights with Congo? Even the Albanian guy, our friend there. What's his name?
What's his? I know you. What's his name again?
Yeah, Florian Marku.
Marku.
Our own Granit Xhaka. He's good friends with Granit Xhaka, apparently.
I reckon that's a straightforward win for Conor Benn, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That fight.
And Florian Marku had in the past called Conor Benn out. Now that would be a good fight. It would be a fan-friendly fight because Florian Marku, he's got thousands of fans. I've actually been to a couple of shows where he's boxed on. You was with me the last one, when we went to see
yeah. Some of them man were chucking it in the crowd, man.
Yeah,
some
man,
of them,
he's got a massive fan base. Conor Benn's building a massive fan base. They're both outspoken guys. They both like to talk. There was needle between them in the past. Apparently, there's some talk about them falling out while they had a gym session or something like that. So that would have been a natural. I don't know why that fight's not been made yet or even really spoken of. But I would imagine that Conor Benn would walk through Florian Marku. No disrespect, but I see Conor Benn beating him quite comfortably. But yeah, even that fight's not been made. He seems to be, as what they like to say, he's on his own path.
Yeah.
Listen, man,
Adrian Broner, Kell Brook. Yeah, I mean,
But I actually think that Kell. Listen, we're going to talk about this again now. But after what I saw from Kell Brook last week, I think he's better off fighting people like Congo and McKinson and Marku. Seriously, that version of Kell Brook there beats the Conor Benn right now. Or if not beats him, gives him a real hard night's work. Trust me. I was very impressed with Kell last week. I actually watched the fight again last night, just so I wasn't capping. I thought, let me watch it again because it might have been that I got carried away on the, the emotion of the night. So let me watch it in the cold light of day. I watched it. And I have to say, man, I was just as impressed watching it the second time around as I watched the first. And yes, people are going to say Amir Khan was washed up, but them same people that are saying, Amir Khan's washed up, this and that, a lot of them were the same ones that were predicting that he was going to beat Kel. So,
some good comments here. Conrad is saying Marku makes good numbers. They'll milk him for as long as they can. Nathan says here Marku is fighting Chris Jenkins on April 2nd. Okay. Shane Willoughby has said here, let's talk about the WBO hugging champion. Come on, man. You can't be talking about my boy Okolie like that, bro.
No, I thought you were talking about Dimitri Bivol.
Lawrence Okolie is in action this weekend, man. And you know what? It's on a Sunday. He's up against Okolie-Cieslak from Poland. And the undercard as well, man. There's some names on that undercard. You've got Anthony Fowler on there. You've got Galal Yafai on there making his debut. You got my boy Chev Clark on there. He's making his debut. Who else is on the card, man? You got your boy Campbell Hatton on there. So, yeah, boxing on a Sunday, man, at the O2 Arena. This is an underrated show, I think. What do you reckon?
Well, I was going to say that show on Sunday, man, is the most under-promoted show of the year, isn't it? When you consider that you got a world champion from this country defending in his own country, there's been zero promotion. Zero. If I was Lawrence Okolie, I'd be pretty upset, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, I feel for it, man. Who knows about this fight? Nobody. And this is what I was saying the other day about with the Kell Brook and Amir Khan. I work in an office with quite a few young people. And, you know, young people, they like this sport. They're not all boxing fans. But every so often, you know what I mean, they will start salivating about a certain fight. And that was the case for Amir Khan and Kell Brook. But I've noticed that no one's come up to me this week and said anything about the Josh Taylor-Jack Catterall fight. And absolutely no one's mentioned anything about the Lawrence Okolie fight. Again, it's a real shame.
Do you think, question, do you reckon the DAZN platform, do you reckon that was a bit of an L for Eddie not being able to them to secure those rights from BT? Because is that kind of hurting Eddie, the fact that nobody at all is even really talking about Okolie's fight this weekend and it's being under promoted? What do you think? Do you think that him not being on Sky is a factor? Do you think, I think the bigger picture, Eddie Hearn leaving Sky, do you think that's going to be a positive or a negative, man? Time will tell, innit?
I think the trouble with platforms like DAZN that are strictly pay-per-view is that they don't offer the coverage, do they? You know what I mean? It's a very limited market that they're in. And so they find it hard to promote their fights. So, you know, I mean, this is why they say in sport, you know, not all money is good money. Because, you know, I mean, you're going to get inflated purses just by virtue of being on DAZN. They're able to underwrite their shows and lose money in the process, but the fighters still get paid. However, in terms of their recognition and their marketability, that definitely suffers. I mean, someone like Canelo, it's not going to affect that much because everybody knows Canelo anyway. But if you're a young guy looking to make your waves in this game, being on a network like the DAZN is sometimes not the best because, you know what I mean, no one gets to see you. You kind of fly under the radar, you know what I mean? Especially
with the amount of fighters that Eddie's got.
Yeah. And it's interesting that Eddie's made a few barbs at Sky, hasn't he, since he's left. Saying, oh, they're throwing more money into it now that I've gone. But I'm not so sure about that. I just think that he's having trouble making an impact. Even he, the great promoter Eddie Hearn, is realizing that, you know, if you haven't got those outlets that can promote your fighters, it makes it much more difficult.
I agree. Go to some comments here. We've got a lot of them in here. Shane says here, Cieslak got knocked clean out by Makabu. He's going to get destroyed by Okolie, and even if Okolie gets in trouble, he'll clinch his way through. Didn't Cieslak, wasn't that on point, Shane?
Yeah, where's he going with that?
Wasn't that points?
That was a points win.
Is it a points win, Shane? Let me know. I think it was points that was, man. But I see what you're saying anyway.
Yeah, it was a points win. I don't know where Shane gets that from, man. You know what I mean?
Shane's he's not rating Okolie. That's all it is. He don't rate Okolie. Harvey said here, it's definitely not game change so far for, you know, Matchroom Boxing and DAZN. Nathan is clarifying what we're saying. Yeah, I think Makabu beat Cieslak on points.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was points.
Michael Maxwell saying here, Matchroom is losing the UK market. Big up your exclusives here in the chat. Shout out to yourself, bro. Stefan is saying here, as a promotional machine, Sky is unmatched. Sky Sports News, constant notifications, advertised during Premier League games, etc. So, like, yeah, I mean, there must have been a bigger reason though why Eddie did leave the zone. Why Eddie left Sky Sports? Though, do you know what I mean?
Money. He did that whole DAZN project is underwritten by billionaires. He's Russian. I'm not sure. But anyway, so there's a lot more money there. But then, like we said, there's having mountains full of money, but then you've got to be able to promote the fighters so that the man in the street can recognize them. And Sky have that platform, whereas DAZN don't. Because like I said, it's pay-per-view. I mean, I've subscribed to DAZN, so have you, but we are very much in the minority of people that's done that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the fighters who were signed up to DAZN, they're going to take that hit in terms of marketability and publicity and things like that. They might get decent purses, more and more money than they would have got for, say, being on Sky, but it hurts their marketability.
Yeah. Michael Maxwell says here, I think AJ will stay on Sky. We'll get onto AJ a bit later, but yeah, Nathan saying here, Cieslak lost a close fight with Makabu in Congo, and many thought Cieslak won that at the time. So yeah, let's get on to the actual show. Okolie and Cieslak. Like, what's your thoughts on the opponent? Because since that loss to Makabu, he has, you know, won 2 fights since then. A lot of people in the trade are saying that he will perform a lot better than, you know, expected. He's coming to win. Obviously, we've heard that before, but do you reckon that Cieslak will be able to pose more of a threat than recent challengers to Okolie? Do you reckon he'll be able to, who is improving all the time, by the way, Lawrence Okolie under Shane McGuigan, but will Cieslak be able to, you know, keep it entertaining at least?
Depends if he doesn't get caught early and get smoked, because you know what I mean, if he gets caught early and gets dropped or hurt or even knocked out, then, you know, that's that. But if he can hang around for a few, I think the knock on Lawrence Okolie is that if he doesn't get you out of there early, he can sometimes labor. You know what I mean? So if you get a good, strong, experienced opponent, you know what I mean, he might struggle a little bit down the stretch. That's what people are waiting to see. He does look like he's made significant improvements under Shane McGuigan. But the proof will be in the pudding, and that will be if he goes past 6, 7, 8 rounds. I mean, the previous Polish opponent he fought, who some people thought might test him, I didn't really think it would be that much of a test because I thought he was well past his best, and so it proved. Remember, he fought Glavatsky, and he got him out of there within 6 rounds. I think he dropped him a couple of times early in that fight as well and just finished him off by the 6th. From what I understand about Cieslak, and I'm going by a Polish friend of mine in the gym, he tells me that he's tough, he's aggressive, and he comes to win. So if that is the case, which I've got no reason to doubt my mate, then it should be an interesting fight while it lasts. But I am expecting Lawrence to catch up with him at some stage, man, and get him out of there, because Lawrence possesses God-given power, man. You know what I mean? He's got the kind of power that doesn't come along all the time, you know what I mean? It's every so often. That's God-gifted power he's got there. So if they can harness that, improve his boxing skills and his ring generalship, he could hold that title for a while before moving up to heavyweight. I think he could be that good.
I'm hearing Maris Bradus is going to be over there or doing punditry or somewhere, or he'll be involved in some way on this show at the weekend. And it'll be good to see him talking about something else other than Jake Paul. Yeah. So, you know, that'll be interesting. Who else are you looking forward to seeing on that card? I mean, Galal Yafai, touted as the most talented of the 3 brothers, who are all supremely talented. Are you looking forward to seeing him make his debut?
Yeah, gold medalist making his debut. That's always an exciting time. Yeah, everyone's saying that he's the most talented of the brothers. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing him. But I am looking forward to seeing Lawrence Okolie, man. I mean, I've always had, I remember me and you used to go back and forth when he was Penny Boys and all that, remember? And when he fought Isaac Chamberlain, I remember you said you wanted Isaac to win.
I did at the time.
Yeah, and I came down on Lawrence Okolie. So I met him a few times. Actually, one of the times I met him,
I'll take that back, by the way, for sure.
Me and you that met him in Westfield, wasn't it? In Stratford. Yeah. And he seems like a very nice guy. Arsenal fan as well. I know Robbie and him have done a couple of interviews with him, and they speak highly of him. And it's been interesting to see his progression, because he's got that backstory in here of him working in a McDonald's as a young man, watching AJ win the Olympic gold in 2012, and decided that he'd give boxing a go. And look how far he's come in a relatively short space of time. Went to the Olympics himself, of course. I think he was fast-tracked as an amateur because of his size dimensions and stuff like that and his power. And you can see why, can't you? Because he's got all the physical advantages there, man. 6'5", long arms, natural power, like genuine one-punch power as well. So yeah, man, he's quite exciting to watch as well. So going to be interesting to see how he develops, man. I mean, he's a world champion now, so the opponents are going to get harder. But yeah, I've enjoyed his journey so far, and I'm looking forward to see him extend that winning run come Sunday, which is an unusual day to have a fight. But hey, listen, man, I'm all in.
I like it. I like it being on a Sunday. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
I think Sunday's a good day. It's just that the promotion has been dire for this fight, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I have. And I think Shane's trolling here with his comment about the Yafai brothers, man. you can't say they're frauds.
Shane's on one today, isn't he? He's
on something today.
He just comes out and starts trolling all over the place. All the Yafai brothers are frauds. Wow. I think
Shane also says here, Okolie has no inside game, but he is a good fighter, nothing more than that. So he's not rating Okolie either. So Shane, yeah, he's on.
There are lots of fighters who have reached the very top and they don't have particularly good inside games. Now, let's be honest. If you're 6'5" and you've got tremendously long reach, you will tend to find fighters like that don't have great inside games. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't work on their inside game, but what I am saying is him not having a great inside game is not unique for a guy that big.
Yeah. So the last one before we move on then, are we expecting Okolie to get the job done inside the distance against Cieslak?
Yeah, I am, man. I mean, Cieslak 32. So far, he's kind of been genuinely stepped up on one occasion and he didn't get the win against Makubu. Some people question just how good Makubu is. Yes, the fight was in DR Congo. So, you know, if it goes to a points win, it's unlikely that Cieslak's going to come out of there. I didn't see the fight, so I can't comment. But I'm looking at the rest of his record. I haven't seen anything on there that I would imagine frightens Lawrence Okolie. He's fighting at home. He's on a roll. And I'm expecting him to do a number on Cieslak. But that's not to disrespect Cieslak. He may well be a good fighter. Like I said, word on the street is that he's strong, he's aggressive, and he comes to win. That might actually play into Lawrence's hands a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think the guys who are going to give Lawrence problems are the ones who are going to try and box him a bit more.
Yeah.
You know, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to the fight anyway, definitely.
Looking forward to it, man. Shout out to Hugo Bossman. He said here, are you going to do a live stream reaction to these fights? Love the channel. Of course, bro, we will be. I'll be doing it on the Sunday. So after the Okolie fight, I will be streaming and we'll get the reaction from that and the Josh Taylor fight the night before. So look out for that. I'll put a note out for the channel as well. But big up yourself, man. And thank you. I'm glad that you like the channel. Let's get some your reaction to the fact that Dillian Whyte has signed the contract to face Tyson Fury. I feel like we've been talking about this saga for a few weeks now, ongoing, so we won't be too long on it. But there was never any doubt for me that Dillian Whyte was going to sign that contract. I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah. Dare I say it? Sounds like there's some mind games going on there. Listen, man, I was always confident that Dillian was going to sign it. I couldn't imagine for the life of me why he would pass up this opportunity, given it had been waiting for so long and fought himself into this position. Yes, he's getting the short end of the stick when it comes to the money and stuff like that. But nevertheless, this is a golden opportunity for him. I mean, he's not going to be a favorite for this fight, but he does have a puncher's chance. Let's see if Fury can be any good against anyone other than Deontay Wilder. You know what I mean? Because it's been shown in the past, man, that Tyson Fury does have dips in performances. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, like I said, you would have to make Fury a pretty solid favorite based on the record so far. But don't write Dillian out, man. If he can get himself in shape, approach the fight with the right mindset, not get psyched out or don't. Well, I think one thing Dillian's got to be cognizant of is not becoming too embroiled with all the pre-fight stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Tyson Fury can do that to people, can get under people's skins, and you just by constant talking and trolling and all that type of stuff. I think at some point, we've said all along that we are looking forward to the press conferences. Yeah, that's true. But I think Dillian has to kind of know when to just rein it in again and focus rather than just allow himself to get caught up in a roller coaster of emotions going back and forth with Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? He's got to keep his head straight, be focused, and I think he has a chance, definitely.
I think he's been doing that so far.
Yeah,
He hasn't engaged him yet. If anyone's been rattled, it's been Fury. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
He hasn't been doing it so far, man. He seems to be just straight focused. He lives in Portugal now, locked in. He's doing training camp over there. Hasn't engaged in any social media. I'm guessing there's a reason why he's not promoting this fight on his end, because he don't get on with Frank Warren. He's not trying to help Fury, and like he's upset at the split. So he's just thinking, F this, I'll sign the contract, I'll get down to work, and hopefully I'll get the win when we meet in April. So yeah. Shane is saying, does Dillian turn up to the press conference? That wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't.
I think they're obligated to be honest. I think you can lose money by not turning up and things like that. But I wouldn't mind betting if he does turn up. He probably won't say that much, you know. I think Dillian's adopting the mindset that his mindset is to be totally focused on Fury and not to get sidetracked with all the nonsense. Because like I said, Tyson Fury loves all that stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But by virtue, if you take that away from him, that might unnerve him a little bit. That might make him think twice, you know. Yeah. So that would be a good strategy. Obviously, he can't afford to do that too much because he will have obligations in terms of selling the fight. But that's how it looks. That Dillian's approach is going to be focused and to not get sidetracked by Tyson Fury's bravado and nonsense and all the rest of it. Because you know what Fury's like. We're going to get an overload of that in the lead up to this fight, you bum dosser, and you know what I mean, all that other stuff, which personally I think this trash talking game is weak, bro. But hey.
Yeah. It is a bit draining, man. But he did say from now until the fight, he's going on a social media blackout. Do you know what I mean? Anything that's posted will be posted by his team. So it looks like that Fury will be getting down to work as well. He did that with Deontay Wilder as well, to be fair. So let's just see, man.
What do you mean we might get a few words other than you bum dosser?
Well, he's not going to be saying anything now.
I'll be looking forward to the fight. Looking forward to see how Dillian approaches it. And like I said, I personally do give him a chance. I've seen a lot of the so-called experts and pundits and all that. They don't seem to be giving him much of a shot at all. But he's definitely got a puncher's chance. And you know Dillian, man, he will bring it. That's one thing I do know. I don't think he will freeze. I don't think he will not give of his best. You know what I mean? He won't be circling the ring in round 11, asking Fury, how do you think I'm doing and stuff like that. I don't think you're going to see that type of mindset. You know what I mean?
Does that fight sell out Wembley? If it happens at Wembley, do you think, does that happen at Wembley? I mean, sorry, if it does happen at Wembley, does it sell out Wembley, should I say?
I don't think so. I think it'll be a healthy crowd. You see, I don't think Tyson Fury, for all his braggadociousness and all the stuff he likes to talk, I don't think he's a natural ticket seller, is he? I don't think, am I wrong in saying that I don't think he has that kind of magnetic drawing power? I mean, someone like AJ didn't even seem to have to try, and he would just fill out stadiums effortlessly because people gravitated towards him and the story, didn't they? And he just seemed like a very kind of charismatic individual without even trying too hard. Whereas Fury, you get the impression he goes over the top a bit too much, and that can alienate people. So, hey, man, that's how I feel about Fury. Listen, maybe you're asking the wrong man because I don't. Tyson Fury, his dad, and all that lot. They just, to me, I just find them boorish and repetitive, and you know what I mean, just not very entertaining. He's a quality fighter. Nobody can dispute that. But all the other antics, I just find that churlish, bro. I really do.
We'll see, man. As long as the fight gets made, I've had a few people asking me if I'm going to go to it, but yeah, we'll see.
It'll be a big event. It'll be a big event, no doubt.
It'll be a big event because Dillian Whyte can draw a crowd too. Do you know what I mean? So we'll see how that goes. But some news coming in. Shout out to Stefan for this. He said Frank Warren has just won the purse bids for Parker against Andrade. Hearn is losing out again. He's also said here, what do you make of Warren winning the purse bids for Andrade Parker? Matchroom are losing out a fair bit at the moment. Yeah, I mean, wow, I didn't know that. So Zach Parker, obviously, he's in line to fight Demetrius Andrade, isn't he? So
yeah.
So Frank Warren's won that purse bid. I'm quite surprised about that, actually.
Yeah.
What's going on with Eddie Hearn? Like, what's happening here? Because this is the second big purse bid that he's lost to Frank Warren.
Yeah, and he lost out. Well, it would appear that he's lost out on the Devin Haney fight, any with Kambosos. That looks like Kambosos will be fighting Lomachenko. And I've already seen on some of the American YouTube boxing channels where a lot of them are blaming Eddie Hearn for that directly, saying that Devin needs to get himself a new promoter. So it would be the first time as well that Demetrius Andrade has, you know what I mean, like got himself mixed up with Eddie Hearn, and I don't know, man. It's difficult to say, but yeah, Eddie needs to bounce back. Otherwise, that retirement that he was talking about might come around sooner than he wanted it to.
You know what this tells me? It tells me that the grip Eddie Hearn had on boxing ain't as strong as it was before. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that they've caught up, but people are starting to catch up now. You've got Boxer in there. You've got other promoters putting on shows. Do you know what I mean? He's losing out on purse bids.
So I'll tell you what it seems like to me as well. Eddie Hearn underestimated the significance of having Sky behind him.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I think once you haven't, you know what I mean, you ain't got that platform in which to promote the fighters, it does make a big difference, as we said earlier. You heard Amir Khan in the lead up to that fight saying he wanted the fight on Sky. He said, no disrespect to Eddie Hearn, but, you know, that Sky platform, you can't underestimate it in terms of selling fights. And, of course, we saw how successful that fight's been commercially. Yeah. Apparently, I reckon that's going to do record numbers. Disappointingly over here, they never actually release the numbers, do they?
No.
But from what I'm picking up in the press by speaking to people, I think they're saying that the Amir Khan Kell Brook is going to break records, which that wouldn't surprise me, man, because last week, you know yourself, don't you? The fever, pitch and excitement and anticipation leading into that fight, man. I've not seen that for a while in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and I think people probably underestimated that.
Also tells me Frank Warren's got a lot of faith in Zach Parker, man. It seems like he's really backing him to win this. And Andrade, you have to say, under Eddie Hearn, how successful has it been for him? I mean, he's won every fight underneath, but you would have hoped he would have had that big fight by now. Obviously, the Billy Joe Saunders fight wasn't his fault. Do you know what I mean? That was supposed to happen. But yeah, man, him and Danny Jacobs haven't really had the... I mean, it's been... I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on Eddie.
Well, maybe not. You know what I mean? Because, you know, and if you're not getting these fights over the line, that's what counts at the end of the day. Going back to Zach Parker, I mean, he does look a very good fighter. Very big for the weight, can punch, got lots of confidence. Clearly, Frank Warren's got confidence in him. Obviously saw what Leon Williams had a pretty competitive fight with Andrade. And let's face it, Zach Parker is a big guy, younger as well, punches harder potentially. So that's going to be a very nice hard work for Andrade. He needs to be on it, man, if he's going to win that fight. Because let's face it, man, Zach Parker's got nothing to lose going into this fight.
No.
Especially in America, he's going to be considered a massive underdog. Knowing the Americans, they wouldn't have heard of Zach Parker because, you know,
no chance.
You know what they're like. They you know, they would be Zach who. So it's one of those where even if Andrade was to beat him, which he would be favored to, let's be honest, he's got the experience and the skills and everything else. If he beats Zach Parker, a lot of the Americans over there are going to say, so what? You know what I mean? Yeah. I can see that being a potential banana skin for him, you know, seriously, because you can just imagine the mindset of Zach Parker going into this fight. You know what I mean? That's an opportunity that's come out of nowhere, and he's going to give it everything. You know what I mean? So...
Stefan says here, Warren has got form for getting big fighters to fight over here. He got Tank over here to fight Liam Walsh. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was crazy, actually. Yeah, just him. It's quite surreal seeing him fighting Liam Walsh, man, and Floyd over here as well. But he did do it. Do you know what I mean? Got to give Frank his respect, man. But listen, a couple of guys in the chat have said that the two fights this weekend they're not looking forward to that as much as the card overseas in America. and it is a good show. Do you know what I mean? You got Chris Colbert against Hector Luis Garcia. Like we've also said, you've got Gary Antoine Russell against Victor Postal. Two good fights over there, man. You're not a big fan of Chris Colbert, are you? You're not his biggest fan, are you?
Nah, listen, man, I'm an older generational guy. I love trash talking, but when you get people being an arsehole just for the sake of it. You see, some of these fighters, some of these young fighters, and I'm going to say this now, it may sound a little bit incongruous. Some of these black guys think that, especially over in America, they think the more you act an arsehole, the more that seems to like propel you in terms of selling tickets. Playing up to that villain role, that so-called trash-talking bad guy, Brooklynite role. And that's what Chris Colbert's all about. And to me, it's put me off him. That's not to say he's not a good fighter, because he's a very good young fighter. Not as good as he thinks he is, but then you could say that for a lot of boxers. But I'm just not drawn to him at all, man. I don't like the energy that comes from him. I think he's very arrogant. I think he's quite obnoxious, actually. Listen, some people may like that, but for me, he reminds me of one of those just young rappers, man, just chat shit. I just, you know what I mean? There's no real, like, humor to anything he says. It's just very sort of, yeah, obnoxious, man. I just find him a bit gutter, to be honest with you. Nothing ever comes out of that guy's mouth that remotely makes me feel any type of affinity towards it. But then, listen, it's not about me. Yeah, he is a good fighter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What about his boxing ability?
And yeah, I will watch the fight this weekend if I get the chance. I'm expecting him to win. I don't know too much about his opponent. I know he's unbeaten. He's a guy from the Dominican Republic. I know he's had 14 fights and 14 wins, but most of those fights, has to be said, has been in the Dominican Republic. So we don't quite know how good he is. I'll be surprised if he beats Colbert, to be honest. Colbert seems to be one of these guys that they're projecting towards stardom, if not superstardom, but I don't think he'll get that far. I see he's already been trash talking Shakur Stevenson. Him and Shakur Stevenson do not get on at all. And there's also another guy out there in that weight class that's him and Chris Colbert got beef, a guy called Oshaki Foster. You know what I mean? He's been calling out Chris Colbert. It would appear that a lot of people don't. It's not just me, bro. You know what I mean? Chris Colbert is a guy that maybe he likes that kind of thing. Maybe he sees that as him propelling himself, you know. He's not my cup of tea, but I'll give him his flowers. He's a good young fighter, and it'll be interesting to see how far he can go.
Also on the bill, you've got Gary Antoine Russell, as we said. Good step-up fight against Victor Postal. But Victor Postal, over the last couple of years, he has taken a couple of L's. This seems like he's coming at the right time for somebody with the hype that Gary Antoine Russell has got, former Olympian, of course. What do you reckon about that?
And he's also, to get on that Olympic team, he had to beat Jerome Boots Ennis a couple of times, which he did. So I think I'm right in saying that Boots has beaten him as well. But the last couple of times they fought, he actually beat Boots, although they were close fights. And I must admit, man, I'm liking the look of this guy, man. 14 fights, 14 KOs, and he looks accomplished, man. You know what I mean? He looks like he's going to go all the way. He's flown a bit under the radar because unlike your Chris Colberts of this world and Shakur Stevenson, he doesn't do that much talking. He tends to do his talking in the ring. So he's not immediately recognizable to a lot, especially casuals. But trust me, this guy can fight, man. He's about that life. And I'm watching his career with interest.
Do you think Victor Postal is being brought in as an opponent here? Do you think he's still got ambitions to, he has fought at the top?
Yeah. Well, again, Daryl, it's like we said before with Conor Benn. It's about matchmaking, isn't it? Catching guys at the right time. Because let's face it, this version of Victor Postal is not the same version that fought Terence Crawford all them years back. It's not even the same version that fought Josh Taylor a few years back. No. But he's still got enough in him that they hope he'll be a good test for Gary Antoine Russell. And no doubt, if he beats him and beats him well, that will be a barometer against the other guys. So they'll be saying, especially if he can get Victor Postal out of there, which none of the other guys have done, they'll be saying Gary Antoine Russell's done something that not even Bud Crawford or none of those guys have done, or Josh Taylor's done. So, but it's still an interesting fight, though.
I wonder what Victor Postal's mindset is, and maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but obviously he's a native of Ukraine, isn't he? Victor
Yeah,
Postal.
he is.
I wonder what his mindset will be going into the fight this weekend,
That's a
considering
good
everything that's
point.
going on over there.
That's a good point because I've seen him in the ring before, rocking the Ukrainian colours on his shorts. I'm sure he's very upset at what's going on, and I'm sure he'll be wearing his colours with pride on this fight, and he'll be seeing that he's fighting for the people of Ukraine. I'm pretty sure about that. So yeah, that's another good angle, isn't it, for this fight?
Yeah, maybe it might have a positive effect on him. Maybe he might, we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Stefan says here, Postal was very competitive against Taylor and Ramirez. I thought he edged Ramirez. Crawford is the only guy who had an easy night with him. And at the time, there was a lot of people that accused Crawford of ducking Victor Postal. I remember it. And then he had an easy night against him. I remember that. People thought Postal was going to beat him. So, yeah.
I also remember in the lead up to that fight, because Postal at that time was being trained by Freddie Roach, and he was doing his usual, Postal's going to knock him out, this, that, and the other. So that sort of helped the build up to that fight. And of course, like you said, man, it was a fairly comfortable night. I think Terence Crawford did drop him in that fight.
He did drop him.
Yeah, and he went on to pretty much rout him on the cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would imagine he's still alive he's still a live opponent. He's not taking any real beatings, has he, Postal? Although he's clearly past his best.
Yeah.
So he's, you know what I mean? Especially early out, it'll probably be a test for Gary Russell. Antoine Russell.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good, man. Before we go, Laurie, there's two more topics that I want to touch on today. The first one is there was news. It came in earlier on today, that Scott Fitzgerald has admitted to assaulting his girlfriend. I don't know if you saw that, but he was in court for that. He's got an 18-month community order for it. I was reading the story today, and the quotes that I saw was that he was saying he can't remember any of it. The girlfriend didn't even want to press charges against him, but at the end of the day, he was caught on CCTV assaulting his girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? And he's been convicted of that after pleading guilty. Just another bad episode, really, in the life of Scott Fitzgerald, man, let alone his career. Yeah. I just wonder, do you think he'll ever get back into boxing again? Like, he's saying that he wants to, but, will he ever get clean again? Will we see the best of him? He's 30 years old now, and it appears that this drink and drugs issue is still a problem.
Yeah, he's clearly a person with substance abuse issues. And, those of us who've seen people in the past with substance abuse issues, it's a very hard thing to overcome, man, especially if you're a professional athlete. I would like to say that I hope he can beat it. But I must say, man, I've got my doubts. He's been in this type of condition now for a while. It's sad, man, because he's a very talented fighter. But, at the same time, you can't go around doing that type of thing to people, especially women. So, if he's adjudged to have done that, then he has to obviously pay the price for that. It's very difficult to see any way back for him, I'll be honest with you, man. I think first and foremost, he's got to forget about fighting, and just get himself right. Get himself off these substances that are causing him so much grief, and try and become a better man first and foremost. Then hopefully he can at some point get into training and resume his career. But the other thing about that is he's losing time, isn't he? Let's be honest, man.
30 years old. It's never too, of course, it's not too late, especially as a light middleweight. He is a former British champion. He's very good as well. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just right now, I just think like you nailed it. It's just not really about boxing right now, man. It's just about getting clean and getting back on the right path. If you are able to get back into boxing, that's great. But at the moment, I think that he will probably get back into it, because I read at the end of the article, obviously he's not working anywhere and he's living with his dad. So, he's going to want to get back into the boxing, even if it is purely for the money. So, hopefully it works out for him. But listen, man, there's no excuse for what you did. You need to help and get yourself sorted out. And
absolutely. I mean, listen, we all hope that he can find a way to recover and get himself right. But he's a long road back. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend. I know people that have had issues with that type of thing. And like I said, it's very hard, even for so-called normal people, but for a professional athlete, it's even harder, obviously. So let's see how that one goes. But okay.
You see, I got One more thing before we go, man, and I want to touch on this. I just thought you might give Floyd Mayweather a shout out on his birthday today. Does turn 45 years old. Shout out to Floyd Mayweather. We're gonna get a happy birthday from you for Floyd.
Yeah, man. Listen, man, the greatest fighter of our generation, Floyd Mayweather, 45 going on 25. But yeah, man, listen, man, shout out to Floyd, man. I haven't always agreed with a lot of the things he's done outside the ring. Not at all, actually. But inside the ring, you can't argue with him, man. He's the greatest fighter of this generation, hands down. You know what I mean? My abiding memory is like a 38-year-old Floyd literally playing with Canelo. You know what I mean? Literally toying with him, just beating him up at will. Beating Pacquiao, going all the way back, man. Corrales, Gatti, you know what I mean? When he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he was virtually unbeatable. Well, he was unbeatable, wasn't it? 50-0. Hell of a fighter. Best fighter of this generation. Like I said, hasn't always conducted himself the best outside the ring, but then you can say that for a lot of fighters and a lot of sportsmen across the board. So, but in terms of his boxing ability and skills, second to none.
For sure. Shout out to Floyd, man. Happy birthday to him.
I just hope that he doesn't make any more comebacks, man, because that's becoming a bit tiresome. Sorry to have to end on a slightly negative note.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna. Do you know what I mean? I thought.
Yeah, because we have to say that, don't we? Because he does sully his reputation with these silly little exhibition fights, man.
Well, he was supposed to fight that guy. He's supposed to fight that little kid in Dubai, wasn't he? But that I don't know. That didn't come around, did it?
See this. Surely the gig's up on that, man. You know what I mean? We want to remember these guys for what they did in the ring. And on a side note, I noticed that Oscar issued a statement this week saying he's going to abandon any pretense of a comeback.
Yeah, good.
And I thought to myself, yeah, good on you, man, because no one's interested. And then you get these fighters come out and say, you know, they're 50 odd years old and they'll say things like, I've never felt better. You wait till you see this version of me. Remember Nigel Benn did that as well a few years back? I've never felt fit. I never felt better. It's embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. So, but yeah, man, to end on that positive note, yeah, I wish Floyd all the best. Like I said, one hell of a fighter. Nobody, I don't care how much you dislike him, can say otherwise. In the ring, he was a genius. Simple as that.
Absolutely, man. We'll end it there. Well, actually, we'll end it here because obviously we got a big game tonight. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Stefan, a West Bromwich Albion fan. He wants us to do the job tonight on Wolves, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I guess people are rolling up in the studio now, innit, for that game?
Yeah, we've had a few people just turn up now, actually, sticking their head through the door, wondering what's going on. But yeah, man, looking forward to the game. Like I said, it's got there's a bit of needle to this game as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be interesting.
Looking forward to it, man. Can't wait for that one. I'll let you go ahead and get ready for that, Laurie. Shout out to Francisco. He said here Floyd is 50-0, but you guys are now 71-0. You're damn right. Episode number 71 of the podcast, man. All of you guys in the comments, shout out to you all. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're almost at 1,100 subs now. Can you believe it? So big up to everybody, man. And we'll catch you on next week. Actually, no, sorry. We'll catch you on Sunday because we'll be doing some more fan talk after the fights this weekend. We'll get Laurie back on there if he's around.
Man, look forward to that. And we'll catch you guys soon, man. Have a good weekend, everybody, and we'll catch up soon.